everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Dark Art Society podcast. I'm your host, Chet. And today we have artist Tim French. He does some really cool, weird, dark, psychedelic art. And I was looking at his stuff and was digging it. Asked him to be on the show, and he agreed. Super cool guy. We just had the conversation. It was great. Yeah, interesting dude. So that's coming up. What's going on with me? I'm working on doing some commission stuff. You can see the Filth Pig variation of the Ministry Filth Pig album cover for a collector, Chris Koch. Thank you, Chris. I've got my Night, Death, and the Devil painting almost done. I'm also making some glow-in-the-dark paintings. If you go to chetzar.bigcartel.com, you may find one. Although the people on my Patreon, they get first dibs. So if you want to join my Patreon, you can go to patreon.com/chetzar. But if you want to support the podcast, you can do that in a number of ways. First off, hit the like button. I always forget to say that. Second, you could share the video. We're very grassroots kind of podcast here. And thirdly, you can do the Patreon, Dark Art Society Patreon. That's patreon.com/Dark Art Society. If you join at the $5 and above level, you get a free or a 30% discount on a Skull Shop skull, which is really amazing because the prices are already so low for Skull Shop skulls. For what you get, they're really, I think, really affordable, and they're amazing. I use them for all my paintings, all my skull reference, Skull Shop all the way. And if you can now become a YouTube member, and I think you could start at $3 or something, $2.99, and you get the podcast early, and you get a bunch of benefits. There's 3 levels. We've got 3 members already, which is exciting. Doesn't sound like much, but I think it's pretty damn cool. So, yeah, you can join on YouTube as well now. And I think that's that. What was I saying? Let's see. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, that's everything. I thought, I'm going to do this intro quick, so that's good. I think I got everything. Okay, cool. God, I feel like I'm forgetting something, but I'm sure I'm not. Okay, you don't care about this part anyway. Nobody likes this part. You want to hear the interview, which is the good part. So let's do it. Tim French. I hope you like it. Here we go. Hello, Tim.
Hey, Chet, how's it going?
Good. You're talking about math and computers not being your strong suit.
That's not my strong point, right?
I'm pretty good with computers, but I'm terrible with math. I'm so bad. I can't grasp numbers.
Beautiful to look at.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Trying to figure it out. In fact, I've always wanted to use math equations in my artwork. I've seen that before, but I really can't justify doing it if I don't know what it's about. Other than it's just beautiful.
I know, right? Yeah, it is super cool, and I admire people. I admire mathematicians and stuff, but for some reason the symbols are too abstract for me to really make sense. Even numbers, it's like I can do it. It's just like these numbers that symbolize something else. For some reason, it just doesn't sink in for me.
I hear you.
I don't know. Anyway, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Glad to have you on.
I'm happy to be here.
I'm glad to have on another long hair.
Oh yeah. I'm not cutting my hair.
There's not many left of us anymore. But it comes back around. I see younger kids with long hair now.
Yeah,
a lot.
Yeah, I get some pretty bad experiences with the long hair thing. Like it,
Really?
So I get a lot of eye rolls. Well, I'm from North Carolina.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of a small town, and pretty wild.
Yeah, yeah. The funny thing is, I know I've had before, whereas I'll see someone driving up behind me on the freeway, and then they think I'm a girl, and so they look at me, and then they see this with the beard and everything. It's like it's so funny. Cracks me up every time. So where in North Carolina are you?
Right on the coast at a place called Swansboro.
Hmm.
It's it's called the Friendly City by the Sea. It's a lot more friendlier than it used to be, but
Yeah.
so am I.
So did you grow up there?
Yeah, I grew up here. I was here my whole life until I joined the military,
Oh, wow.
and then I was lucky. I got stationed in Italy. If you're an artist, I mean, that's what better place to be stationed.
Right. That's
And
amazing.
well, I was lucky enough to see all of the old masters and history and architecture, you name it, it was there, and I was like loving every minute of it. And but I was in the military, so
Right. Were you still were you creating since you were a kid, or what? Creating artwork?
I started drawing and was interested in that when I was just a child.
Mhm.
I would have pennies. I had a piggy bank, and I would take the pennies out and arrange them in patterns. And this is when I was just a baby. And then after that, I got a hold of a pencil and started altering the covers of TV guides and stuff like that. So I didn't even know what art really was. I just knew that when you put a pencil in my hand, I would go into my own world, and that never left me. I mean, I was, like I said, it kind of introverted even as a child, and so when I was in elementary school, that's one of the things that kept me. I was drawing and kind of avoided some of the chaos that really kind of freaked me out.
Right.
But doing it ever since.
Cool. Yeah, that's such a similar story to so many artists I have on here. Is I was just talking to my friend literally about this the other day. Yesterday, I was texting him, and it's just like the common threads are introvert, generally, not always, but introvert, been drawing since they could hold a pencil, would go off in their own world when they draw when they're little kids and survive like difficult circumstances. I mean, that's the case for me too. It's just such a common thing. It was kind of like a survival mechanism for a lot of people, I think.
And I mean, it wasn't like I was antisocial or anything. I just, like, there was more than 3 or 4 people. It kind of made me sort of nervous. But I did realize that once I started school and I started drawing, other students would get up and come over to where I was at and gather around and watch what I was doing. And it's like, what are you going to do with that? They were like, what are you going to do with that when you're done? So I would just pick somebody, and give it to them. And that's what I did that's how I got started. And of course, I had a lot of influences. At the time, there was a show called Night Gallery.
Oh, yeah, that was one of my favorites.
And Night Gallery was just incredible. And when I was a kid, I would my favorite part of the show was the paintings that they showed at the beginning of the show.
Right.
And they had the one painting that was about the show. My favorite one, which really got me started serious with art, is one where it was one about an artist who kept drawing this monster. And he taught a drawing class, and all his students were like, well, why do you draw such horrible things, But as it turns out, he actually has this thing in his basement.
Right. Yeah. I think that's Pickman's Model. Is it Pickman's Model?
It might be.
That was based on an H.P. Lovecraft story too.
That just blew me away.
Yeah.
And from then on, I knew where I was going.
So you were a monster kid then?
Always.
Okay. So you grew up, because you're a little older than me. So you grew up like in the prime monster kid era.
Oh, yeah.
Because I grew up in the 70s, but you got some of the 60s. And the 60s were when all that shit was happening, for like beginning, like Famous Monsters magazine and all this stuff.
I had a stack of Famous Monsters magazines, probably 3 feet tall.
Wow, we would have been such good friends in school when we were kids. I'm
I
telling you.
know, and I was a real like that. I mean, people were, like, are you interested in? I just,
And
but
you can't
later on,
you can't explain it to
you
either.
can't explain it.
If they don't know, they don't know. It's just a thing, you know. It's so funny. Yeah, that's cool, man. I'm jealous you got to go through that. You got to live during that period because
It was great. Yeah.
it was like I got a lot of it because my brother's 5 years older than me, so he's like 62 or something now. I got a lot of that stuff from the 60s from his hand-me-downs. You know what I mean? But I was mostly like conscious in the 70s and 80s. So it was kind of, it was still happening in the 70s, but not like it was in the 60s when it first started.
Oh, yeah. I had some older friends who hooked me up with some issues of some underground comics, and that's how I was introduced to that kind of stuff. Mad Magazine.
Oh, yeah,
Basil Wolverington, I think was
Mm-hmm.
his name. He did these distorted faces,
Yeah.
big teeth. I just, from that,
I could see that. Now that you mentioned that, I could see that in your work. I could see that influence. Basil
Wolverington, yeah.
Wolverington or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. So were you drawing stuff like you do now when you were a kid, or was it kind of like a kid version of that?
A kid version of that. I was. My mother was kind of concerned about it.
Another common thread.
She took a couple of my drawings to the preacher down at the church, and I didn't know this went on. She told me years later, and I was like, "Well, what did he say?" Because I was really interested in what he would have to say. He told her that she should be grateful that I had this outlet.
Wow.
To do this. and
that's kind of a double.
Okay.
It's kind of a double-sided
compliment there.
Compliment, yeah, kind of. It's kind of true though, but the thing that I know that another common thing with so many people that do dark art, especially especially as adults, but even when they're kids, are very like the nicest kids, super shy, harmless, would never hurt anybody, and so I don't know. I don't. It's a weird. I always feel like it's a genetic thing. Feels like a genetic thing to me.
Yeah, I mean, my mother, she's a seamstress. She has some skills. She works with her hands. She's got skills, but she never did a whole lot of any kind of like art, drawing, painting, stuff like that. My son is a musician. He was a bass player for David Allan Coe, and
oh, no way.
Yeah, and some blues guy, or I can't think of his name, Mojo Collins.
Huh.
And he's a really talented bass player and musician. He plays all kinds of instruments, but he kind of went that route. And I told him, I said, money. If you're going to be in music or art, you're going to have to either somehow come to terms with that, or figure out a way to do it. And even though I've drawn and painted and done my art thing my whole life, I've always had to have some sort of income. And so I've worked every kind of dirty job that there is.
Right.
And I mean, I worked in the sewer system of Atlanta, Georgia.
Wow.
It was crazy. I mean, and stuff like that, and construction. And I was a fireman in the fire department.
Wow.
In Italy, in the Air Force. So, when the planes came in with hot breaks, they would send us out. And the whole time I was there, I was like, it made it even worse because I was surrounded by all of this artwork, penned in by my job, and so I managed to do it. I managed to really. I mean, it inspired me, and in spite of all of the Air Force, U.S. military things I did, that really just didn't hit me.
Right.
And in spite of that, I really did love the fact that I got to go to Italy and to see all those things. And
Yeah.
from from Italy, you could go anywhere in Europe you wanted
Right.
your military ID. It's pretty interesting, time in my life.
Yeah. It sounds like it. That's amazing. I worked
And
on a movie in Italy. One of my first movies when I was a kid, 18, I think, or 19 or something.
right.
And I got to see all that stuff there too. And my family would have never been able to afford a trip to Italy, and it was like all paid for, and
Oh yeah.
to work on this movie, and I got to see all that stuff too. It was really amazing, life changing.
But it was interesting. Basic training, as an artist, when I went in basic training and had to deal with all of I mean, just like TV, you know what I mean? And I was more at since I was kind of an introvert, I stayed out of a lot of trouble because
Right.
it just stayed invisible.
Same here.
Yeah, and I did that in school.
Yep.
And I even got in trouble. I remember as a kid getting in trouble for drawing on the desk.
Yeah. Me too.
Crazy stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And I always used it before. I thought of it as a thing in and of itself when I was a kid during the space race, as they called it, during the late 60s.
Yeah.
Had a little plastic space helmet, and I would get underneath my mom's coffee table, and like I was an astronaut, and I would draw with a permanent magic marker on the bottom thing, all the dials and stuff that I needed for my
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah.
So, and they were always wondering what I was doing under there.
Good thing they didn't know.
Yeah, but they found out. Yeah, I know. But I got my butt tore up a few times, for drawing on the walls. But one day my dad goes, he drew this horse, and the cowboy is actually in proportion with the horse instead of being like really big.
That's so cool.
And they didn't have any sort of art classes where I went to school back in the 60s. It didn't exist.
Wow.
And they had a local artist who the school hired, and brought her in so that me and I think 4 other people could have art lessons when we were in grade school.
Wow.
Which I loved. I got so much out of that because I knew what I wanted, but I just didn't know how to get it.
Right.
And she was showing me the way, so it was pretty cool.
Yeah, that must have been a nice small class size too.
Oh, it was great.
Damn.
Great.
That's awesome. So you've been, when did you start painting? Because now it seems like you're you do a lot of drawings as well,
yes.
But it seems like your focus is on painting, but
right.
How long you've been painting?
Well, I started painting or drawing when I was really young. When I was about 9 years old, my grandmother who's from New York from New York, and she bought me a little oil painting set. I can't even remember Duro or something. I can't remember what it was a cheap brand, but anyways, it came with a little canvas panel, and I did the still life, and I was like, kind of took me aback. It's the first painting I ever did, and it turned out really well. And it's still here. They still have it.
Oh, really? That's so cool that you have it.
Yeah, but the last time I visited there, they won't give it to me.
Yeah.
I gave it to my grandmother, but it got sort of inherited down the line. But I looked at it last time I was there, and I was like, wow, that's not bad for 9 years old.
Yeah, right.
But from that point on, painting was part of my life. And
okay, so you started young.
Yeah, I started with oils. A lot of people start with acrylics. I noticed because it's there's not a lot of formulas and stuff that you have to figure out, which I had no idea. Anyways, I had 2 bottles that one had oil and the other had turpentine, and I was like, so I just would dip it in here and wash my brushes out with the other. And but I've learned a lot since then. And now my process is about like a monochromatic, grayscale underpainting, and then I sort of glaze on top of that.
Yep.
And and that's it's a little slower, but helps me with the colors. I'm able to get this middle tone and then work with it in either direction.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so
I like that technique. That's the grisaille, I think it's called
yeah,
grisaille technique, and I've done a lot of paintings like that. I like it because you separate color from value. It's like, okay, now I'm going to start it. I'm just going to focus on the value, just the darks and the lights, and make it look good, and I can think about color later. So you're not mixing your colors and having to worry about having the right value of the color too. Which is kind of, it's hard to do, but I started. I mean, my first, I don't know, few years, that's all I did is that kind of grisaille type thing. I like it. It's fun.
but I learned about it in Italy when I was in Italy.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and they were like, I went to a demo. It was like a lady was doing a whole presentation at the Uffizi, and I went to that, and they were showing the techniques of it, how these guys did it,
Mm-hmm.
and I was well, they started out on panels, and then they went to canvas and all of this stuff. It was just amazing. And of course, art school. When I finally went to art school, it was great because all the things that we talked about, I'd already seen.
Mm-hmm.
I'd been there and done that.
So you went to art school.
I went to art school after I got out of the military.
Oh, okay. What school was it?
I went to the Atlanta College of Art in Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, cool.
And the reason I went there is because I had an uncle who lived in Atlanta or just outside of Atlanta, and I was going to go stay with him, and I was back in the 80s, and I was a wild child, I was drinking and doing my thing
Yeah.
in the 80s. And of course, I made it through art school. I did okay, but the thing that the teacher was kind of a private art school, very expensive. And they were teaching this sort of abstract expressionist, and it was dark. I mean, it was very dark kind of stuff. It wasn't what I was doing. I mean, I showed up with they pointed at me. It was like,
Yeah.
damn, tongue in cheek, and I paid the price for that, but I never let it go. I mean, I tried a whole bunch of things because I was in art school, and I did that drawing back there. I don't know if you can see it, but I did a lot of really loose expressionist stuff, and I enjoyed it, and I could have gone that route. And I was like, not me. It never was. Right. So I was right back to Heavy Metal magazine, and and that kind of thing, and the music I listened to. I was, that had an influence too, like the Blue Oyster Cult.
Yeah, they always had great album covers, Blue Oyster Cult.
Like Blue Oyster Cult, plus their music was real descriptive.
Yeah.
It's real fantasy based.
Mystical, fantasy, kind of dark. They were great. They were awesome.
And I was wondering, I was worried I wouldn't have anything to say. Now I'm running my mouth.
I told you that's how it go. Everyone loosens up after 5 minutes. I got a fly in here. It's driving me insane.
Oh my God, I see him.
I want to catch it. Whoa!
Did you get him?
No, I missed it. The weird thing is, for some reason this year we got a ton of flies in our yard, and they come in the house all the way through, and they end up in my studio for some reason. My wife keeps saying, well, maybe it stinks in there. I'm like, no, it's messy, but it's not that bad.
They like the artwork.
The other day I was going to interview, last week, David Casson, and there was a fly in here again, and it just came in front of me right before we recorded, and I went with my left hand and I grabbed it in midair. It was amazing, because I'm always catching flies when they come in here. I always try and catch them because I don't want to kill them. But anyway, so your stuff is so cool. It's really weird, and it's like it's so cool to hear that you're a Monster Kid too from way back, because I can see that in your artwork now, and it's our kind of stuff, dark art or monster art or whatever you want to call it. I really feel like it's becoming more popular now. Finally, still not super mainstream, but it's a lot more accepted than when I started, for sure. You know, because when I started, there was nowhere even to show it. I had to just show in any gallery that would have me.
That's me.
You know, and it's like I would show anywhere. I showed at coffee shops. I showed wherever.
I've done all of that, and I've even put some things out in. They have festivals around here, and I put some things in a neighbor's yard, and the some lady came by and turned it around. It's like that's the kind of thing I've dealt with, and and people are like, well, Tim, why don't you do this and why don't you do that, and I'm like, I tried all that. I did that and that other thing too, and it isn't me.
Yeah.
And, I was a carpet cleaner for 10 years, and I mean, it paid for my rent and all of that stuff. But on my spare time, which was in the evenings and on the weekends, that's what I did. Is I was a painter. I painted, and sometimes I would leave in the morning before work, and I'd set everything up so that I knew that when I came back,
you'd be ready to go.
And I've had girlfriends that were like, "Oh, you love that better than me," and then I would turn around and go,
Well, you got to find a person that understands how painters, artists are like obsessed with what they do, and they've found their thing that they love, and it doesn't have to be a competition. But your spouse or partner or whatever needs to be understand the kind of obsession that we have. Because that's how my dad was the same way. I've heard stories of Norman Rockwell. He used to, like Thanksgiving, Christmas, when there was families over, he would sneak off and be painting. It's like, I totally get it. It's how we are. It's just some weird obsession we have,
But it's I've done it so far. People are like, a lot of people are like, Tim, you don't make any money, and I'm like, well, I never did it for money. I mean, I had aspirations about money, and maybe I would do this or that or whatever, and it would somehow bring in some money, and that's when I quit everything else. And of course, it never happened. But I never did it. I realized that after years later that I really never did it for the money.
Yeah,
I never made any money, and if I was going to do it just for the money, I would have quit it a long time ago.
Yeah.
But recently, I've sold work, which was blew my mind, because and like you said, it's catching on a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and bands like Tool. I know that you're involved with bands like Tool and those sort of things. And my fantasy was to do a Blue Oyster Cult cover, but it's a little late for that.
Yeah.
But
they're not. Are they together? Do they play anymore?
I think they do some festivals or something. I've seen them so many times. I think they recognize me now.
Wow, that's what's funny about Blue Oyster Cult is that there's this band, this punk band called the Minutemen.
Yeah,
and they were super influenced by Blue Oyster Cult, even though you don't really hear it in the music. They were really into Blue Oyster Cult and Creedence Clearwater Revival. It's like that's the music they grew up on, and then when they started playing, they discovered punk, and then they went in this other direction. But they still they cover the song the red and the black, I think, Blue Oyster Cult song. They do a cover. Minutemen do a cover of that song. It's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, and I think a lot of bands have done covers of "Don't Fear the Reaper."
Yeah, that's such a classic.
Yeah,
it's such a classic.
But that's what I grew up with. I'm from the 70s. I went to high school when I was in the 70s. And if you've ever seen that movie, Dazed and Confused.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
It's just like that.
Yeah, I was a little kid in the 70s, and I went to high school in the 80s. So I did grow up. It was like the older kids were probably like your age, you know what I mean? And so I was hanging around all these older kids in the 70s, and I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember Yeah, all the music I listened to was all my tastes were really formed in the 70s. There's so much amazing music. I see these like music reaction channels of like young kids listening to stuff from the 70s that they'd never heard before. Like people have never heard like Led Zeppelin or the Beatles even. It's like they haven't heard any of this stuff and they're tripping out at how good the music was. And it really made me think like we kind of took it for granted that we had the most think of all the amazing bands that were making classic records or within the same 10-year period, maybe.
Black Sabbath.
Black Sabbath and
God.
Rush and Led Zeppelin. And I mean, so many amazing bands. And it was like they're all putting out these amazing albums. It was like the peak of recording technology. So the sound is amazing. Absolutely. From the 70s. So it really was an amazing time.
And it was, I think that the 70s probably influenced my life more than anything, that period of time. And especially with the artwork. I mean, there was stuff earlier, but during the 70s is when I really got into the heavy metal magazine.
Yeah.
And then later on, Juxtapose.
Yeah, right.
And, like in the 90s, I still got a stack of Juxtapose out in the garage. You know,
Yep.
I love those guys. Chris Mars is one of my favorite painters of all time.
He's amazing.
Yeah, and I love your stuff. And
thanks.
And Todd Shore,
Todd Shore is amazing. Yeah, Mark Ryden was one of the big. All those guys were influential when I first started. I was seeing their stuff, and just like because I didn't start painting. I was drawing since I was a little kid, but I didn't really start painting until I was like 30. But I'd been working in the film industry, so I was sculpting. I was painting on Photoshop and designing creatures and stuff like that. And
I always wanted to do that.
Yeah. It was a great job. I can't complain. But not technically like, okay, I'm going to teach myself to paint until I was like 33 or something. So I was like a weird late bloomer, but I think I could do it. I didn't have to really study super hard because I'd been doing it in other ways all throughout. And I was painting in acrylics once in a while, but always drawing. Always drawing. And that's like the foundation of painting, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Drawing, you know. If you can draw, you can paint.
Yeah, the elements and principles of design.
Mm-hmm.
I taught school. I got my master's at East Carolina University, and then I turned around and did some adjunct work there. Did my student teaching and some adjunct work there. And I got a job at adjunct at community college, working these art teaching jobs, which to me was a really incredible. I mean, they learned stuff, but I learned stuff too.
Right. Yeah.
Sort of solidified everything that I was teaching myself,
right.
You know, and that I had heard about and been taught before. But love to do the demo. Like I would get in there and get the lights on, right, get everything set up, some fruit or a wrinkled up piece of cloth, and do this on black paper with white chalk. And I just so loved that. That was the most incredible experience. But in the end, I think it just couldn't deal with the adjunct part of it because it was like you never knew when your job was going to end.
Oh, right.
So, yeah. So I hadn't done it in a while after that was all over with. But there's, you never know. I might go back to it again.
Yeah, you can always teach. You know, you can always teach. I totally agree, Matt. Like, I always tell people that, if you want to learn how if you want to get better as an artist, teach someone else. Because it's weird when you teach. Like when I started teaching, I was just doing it because I got offered some classes to teach some classes and make a little money at some tattoo conventions. And so I had to like really kind of break down what my process was because I was super intuitive, really. I was self-taught for the most part. And, I would read stuff in books and then I would do it and try and learn, but I'd never like verbalized it and taught it to someone, and I had to really stop and think about it.
Yeah.
But once I was showing people, I like things just click. Like, oh, that makes sense. Now that I'm saying it out loud, oh, this is what I'm doing. I never really thought about it. I was just kind of doing it, and it looked right, and so I was going with it. So it's really it's the best way to improve is to teach someone.
And because you're solidifying it in your own mind.
Yeah, exactly.
By teaching it.
Yeah, it makes you a better artist for sure. No question about it.
But I did that for a while, and of course, recently I've discovered working with other artists and kind of collaborating. Mm-hmm. And if you notice the one I got behind me here, the painting, I don't know if you can see it or not.
Yeah, that's a good one.
The top part here, I got from a sculpture from an artist from Maine named Brianna Garish that I met on Instagram. And I love her ceramic sculptures. They look like they were grown.
Oh, cool.
And they got these hooks and all this, it's crazy. And she does all these different kinds of firings. And anyways, I was so impressed that I wanted to use the sculpture she had in this painting. So we sort of collaborated. I asked her permission, and she let me do it, and that's how it ended up. And I told her that if we ever sell it, I'll split the money with her.
That's cool.
The other thing I've been doing lately is, if you're familiar with the term exquisite quartz.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this guy that I'm working with, his name is Bernard Dumaine. He's from France, and I met him on Instagram as well. And he does these really cool alley-like paintings. But anyways, he did a collaboration, exquisite quartz with another artist where he would do half of it and cover it up, and the other guy he would take the little inch or whatever that was exposed and go from there and do another painting, and then you unveil it and see what happens. Well, I just did that, and it just blew my mind. I mean, I'm waiting I'm going to post it tonight.
Oh, cool.
It's still not finished, but
that stuff is fun.
It's a shocker how awesome that it turned out without knowing what was on the other side.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. I like that idea. But yeah, he's somebody that people should check out. His name is Bernard Dumaine.
Dumaine,
yeah. Dumain.
Cool. I'll look him up.
His work is just mind blowing, and I didn't know he would have anything to do with me at all. And one day he'd done this exquisite quartz, and I said, "Wow, I said a little message. I said I'd like to do that with you one day if it's possible." He says, "I got one right now. I'm sending it to you." That's
so cool. I think more artists should be doing this sort of thing, like collaborating. I think it's so cool, just to form your own communities. And work together on things. I think it's especially people doing the kind of stuff we're doing because we need to go we need to work a little harder to get ourselves out there because we're not favored by the algorithms or anything. But I think it's super cool. I'm gonna look him up. I did a collab with Christopher Ulrich. Do you know Christopher Ulrich?
Yes, I know who you're talking about.
We did this one collab. It came out so good, and I still have the painting, and I won't give it back to him. Not really. I'm just like, it's one of those things. If we sell it, we'll split it. But I don't know if he ever want to sell it, and I kind of don't want to either. But we did it at a gallery. This is the first and only time I've ever done it like this, where we each went 20 minutes rotating out. Like he'd work on it for 20 minutes, I'd work on it for 20 minutes. And so we saw what each person was doing, but you had a chance to go in and develop it. And, within, I don't know what it was, a couple hours, it came out so good. And it looked like this perfect mixture of both of our work. It was so weird. It was really cool, really a fun process.
Yeah, I've been enjoying it for the past 2 weeks. I've been painting away.
Yeah.
And it's so hot outside that working out, I got stuff I need to do outside, and it just keeps getting put off until the fall.
Yeah. It's brutal right now here.
Yeah, it's cool.
You have the humidity though, right?
Oh God, it's so bad.
We don't have the
It's
humidity, at least.
yeah. I stayed out in the desert for probably about 3 years out in Utah,
Oh, wow.
and yeah, I lived out there with an ex-wife, and
Utah's
and
amazing.
yeah, and God, man, I fell in love with that place. It was like some kind of magical, like being going to Mars.
Yeah, it's
I
a
mean,
trip.
if you ever see pictures of Mars, there's places in Utah that look just like Mars,
Right.
and I loved it, and arches and all these places, and plus they were way more receptive to the kind of artwork that I was
Really?
doing out there. Yeah, which surprised me because it was huge.
Yeah.
And they really were. They were a lot of fans of the Hildebrandt brothers out there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Hildebrandt brothers were great.
yeah, and I seen a couple of their actual paintings out in
Oh,
Utah, where for some reason there was a group of people out there that really dug their what they were doing,
what a
and
trip.
but been all over the place, all over, and I think that has a lot to do with what I do too. Is going so many different places, but to me, the West was the best. I'm a desert guy. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm from here, and the humidity and the coast and the pine trees and all that. That's wonderful. It has its thing, but honestly, the West is the best.
Yeah. I grew up here, so I'm kind of like
You.
partial to it, I guess.
Yeah.
But I'm actually more of a rain guy. I wish it rained more here because I love rain and overcast weather. I dig that.
Yeah, we've had that here for a couple weeks now, and usually this time of the year, it's extremely hot
Yeah.
and no rain, but it's been kind of rainy, and
Huh.
that's been kind of a reprieve. And we missed the hurricane. The big hurricane took off, and
Oh, yeah.
glad about that.
That's good. Yeah, it's
Um,
scary.
Yeah. But,
So when you tell me about how you make your paintings.
well, I get a lot of reference material. Usually I'll have an idea. I'm not exactly sure where that comes from as a process that would take forever to try to explain, and it's never exactly the same.
Right.
But when I get an idea, I start hunting for reference material. And usually there's not really much reference material that I can get that where I can set the lighting up. Like if I got three different references and they're lit three different ways, and then I've got to try and figure that out.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I find that since I got me a new computer with a better camera, I'm going to start taking my own photographs.
Yeah.
And because I work better if I set the situation up. And anyways, but I start out with that. I get my reference material together, and then I start drawing in the sketchbook. I do thumbnails, and I rearrange things and then rearrange them, and until finally I get like what I want. Usually I have that in my head already anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And from there I start the drawing. I usually do the drawing on another sheet of paper, and I'll trace it off with some tracing paper and transfer it onto my board.
Oh, okay.
And then once I do that, then I go in and I do with paint, I do the values. The grayscale values.
What colors are you using when you do the value underpainting?
I use like a burnt umber and an ultramarine blue, and I mix those two together.
Oh, okay.
And I use a flake white for to tint, and I use an underpainting medium by Grumbacher. And that's what it's for. It dries real flat.
Oh, okay.
It's not going to have any effect on what I do on top of it. Because I had noticed some underpaintings I did were having, and kind of an adverse effect because they were shiny underneath or too much oil in it or something. Getting the medium right is, it used to be a real kind of a chore for me because I wanted those old masters formulas, and I wanted to melt Damar and do all that stuff. And then I found out real quick that was I
Not
was a
worth the
chemistry
trouble.
student. It's not worth the trouble. And and I always messed it up. So I finally I end up using this kind of glazing medium that's by I think Winsor and Newton,
Okay.
and I use Williamsburg paints, and I paint on board on panels. And
Okay.
I used to do canvas,
Mm-hmm.
but the canvas I just the texture of the canvas I wanted to eliminate that
Right.
from what I was doing because it was a lot more smoother and everything. So now I paint on panels, and
Yeah.
you know, and that's pretty much my process, in layers, like layers of glazes, and
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, probably the same way you do it.
Yeah. Sounds similar.
Yeah, and
I've been using, let's see, what was it? I'm trying this 3-in-1 medium out. Sean Cheatham recommended it. He was on
oh
the,
yeah,
I think
right.
or episode before last. I don't know, a couple episodes ago. It works really well. It's really good. It's super thin.
Yeah,
Because I'm like a liquid guy. I usually
yeah,
use liquid usually, and but I'm always kind of looking to see if I can find something that's not petroleum based. It's not fuming. I mean, it's not really an issue unless I work on big stuff, but I'd rather
yeah.
not. But and then this other stuff, I tried this. Where'd it go? This epoxide oil stuff. Oh yeah, epoxide oil.
Oh yeah,
Which is like linseed oil, but a different copolymerized linseed oil. It dries faster than regular linseed oil,
right.
but not as fast as liquid. And it works pretty good too. So I guess it depends. A lot of times I'm like, I got to get it done and it's got to dry because I'm on a schedule. So liquid never fails me in that way.
Overall, good stuff
What's
for what
that?
you do. It's overall good stuff for what you do.
Yeah, yeah,
Liquid. Yeah, I painted with liquid before,
yeah.
and and but I always come back to that, and I think a lot of it had to do with glare on photography. Like when I would have when my photos would have this glare
Yeah.
from real shiny paint, and I was looking for a way to eliminate that. I did.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah, I always
Um,
put a varnish on. I always put a shine. I like the shiny look. It's like some people like matte, some people like shiny. It's like I don't like the reflection, obviously, of the light, but I do like the way the colors look when it's got this nice
yeah,
gloss.
brings it. Yeah, but it makes it come alive.
But you got to light it right, otherwise it's super reflective. I got a photographer who does my pictures, and he's got a polarizing filter, so it doesn't show up shiny. And then any little bits that do show up, I can just fix in Photoshop for making prints and stuff.
Right.
So, but as far as the concepts and stuff, how does this, is this like, I mean, let me guess because your stuff is a lot like, I think I was doing a similar way you were painting for a few years a while back, where it was like I was letting the thing kind of come to life as I was painting it. It seems like you have some of them, you have so many weird elements. I imagine that they're like brought in along the way, or maybe not. Maybe you planned it all out from the beginning, but it just feels like, man, I was looking at your stuff like, how do you plan that painting out? It seems like you're like maybe intuiting a lot of it as you go.
There is some of that. I mean, especially if I see it, like if I'm doing something and then I go, oh, this needs to be here.
Right. Yeah.
Or I'll get it and then I'll put it in. And there's even been paintings I've gone back to.
Yeah.
Added things in later. But that's kind of a whole other story there. It's kind of difficult.
Yeah, I suppose a lot, it's not that uncommon, I guess, for artists to change things as they go. But okay, what I was going to ask you was, as far as coming up with the original idea, is it like an intuitive process, or are you thinking more intellectually, or is it more like you're just kind of coming up with whatever comes out on the page when you're sketching, or, you know,
it's kind of like that. Like when
Yeah.
it's usually everything gets birthed in the sketchbook. Like, and this, I think the habit of it came from, I hate to wait, like in doctor's offices and you getting your car fixed and all of this. And the sketchbook was always this perfect thing for me. And so I was always doing stuff. And sometimes there'll be 100 pages where it's just trash in my mind.
Yeah,
But
same.
then I'll
Yeah.
hit, and then all of a sudden I'll hit this thing and go, oh,
Yeah.
oh.
Yeah.
And there's been times when I'm just sitting in my car at night and I saw a shadow from a street light that made the shape.
Right.
And then I would say, that shape is, I got to have that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And then it goes from there.
and it goes from there. And then sometimes I'll have actual, like, already planned out ideas that I was like, I have this idea and I know what I'm going to do. And those are usually the ones that I put off. Like,
Yeah.
believe it or not, I'll go, I got this idea, and I'll do a little sketch something, and then I'll put it away, and then I'll end up doing this other stuff, which is more intuitive, where I'm just kind of creating it as I go. And lately, I've just gotten into these really strange forms, like bubbles and just blobs of things that shapes, and of course I probably should mention it, but I'm going to. But back when, in May, I was introduced to certain mushrooms and other psychedelic.
Oh, we talk about this stuff all the time on the podcast.
Yeah, and it had a real big influence on direction that it went at a particular time,
Right.
in my life. And I did that. And I was like, Mr. The acid cowboy, a psychedelic cowboy guy in school and college. And so, it kind of fit. And I felt like I got everything out of it that I could get out of it. So doing it anymore seemed like a
right
party favor or something, and I just I thought more of it than that. It was more sacred or something.
Yeah. I had the same experience.
Yeah, so I don't do it. I don't do it anymore. Of course, I don't do any of those things anymore. I used to when in my day. I'm telling you, I was from the '70s, and
You did it
I did
when it was the time to do it. The '70s was the time to do it.
Right. And of course I tried I extended it out into other, decades after that. But
right.
But
the '70s are where it started. I remember when I was a kid, it was like all my older brother and all his friends were all like stoners and all tripping, and I was for whatever reason, I was so straight-laced. Even though I was the long-haired monster kid, I was always like, I was like kind of snobby against them. Like, I can't believe they're smoking weed. Like, they're wasting their lives. I was like this really kind of prudish kid. And then once I got 18, I was like, okay, I've proven to myself, because all the people in my neighborhood thought I was going to be like a stoner guy. And I was I was like, I'm going to prove them all wrong. So I didn't do anything. And then once I turned 18, I was like, okay, I'm an adult now. I've proven that I'm not the stoner kid they all thought I was going to be. Now I'm going to just try the good stuff, which is like, mushrooms, psychedelics, basically.
Yeah.
And then I had my little period with it, and it was amazing. And then at the end of it, it was the same. Like, I kind of kept getting this message, like, you need to, you basically need to meditate. If you want to get in this state of mind regularly, you need to do it through natural means. You can't keep relying on this. And it was basically the same thing.
And I never knew, but with that, I never knew what I was getting. And the last time I did it, and I was really doing a lot of art out in Utah, but it's out in Utah, and I decided my wife was off somewhere, and she was going to be gone for 3 days, and decided to get some, and I was warned. I was like, just a little bit. And I was like, yeah, right. I'm from the 70s. And I regretted that because
Really?
I went places to this day, I could describe it to you, but you had to be there kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah.
It was a real 60s kind of, I don't even know how to describe it. Uh,
Wow.
Stuff that wasn't there.
Right.
Um, it just blew my mind. And of
Wow.
course, after that, I was like, I don't think I'm going to do this anymore. I think that was my
That was
last.
it.
That was it. Because it was. I was down deep into the place where it was that it takes you.
Yeah, you got to It's like if you go too far, it's kind of like
Yeah,
it defeats the purpose because you can't even like bring anything back with you to integrate
exactly.
into your life because this is just too weird, you know.
Yeah, and I was like literally crawled upstairs in my apartment, up to the bedroom where I painted, and look at my stuff, and I was like, oh, it's terrible. Oh God, it's terrible. So I was like, no, this ain't gonna work. So.
Yeah.
But since then, I got older, and I decided that it really didn't help my artwork.
Right.
I mean, some people swear by it, and I don't knock that. It's a personal choice, in my mind. But I feel like I got everything out of it I needed to get out of it, and now I get more done.
Yeah, yeah.
I get more painting done, and I think I'm weirder now than I was.
Yeah, right. Yeah, for sure. It's funny. It didn't even occur to me that there's this big psychedelic influence until you mentioned that. Now it's like I think of your work and I'm like, oh, yeah, I could see the psychedelic influence majorly.
Oh, yeah.
It's very psychedelic.
Yeah, I've seen some stuff, and I went through all kinds of phases through the '80s and art school, and I did the whole thing, and I there's been times now when I was like, man, I should have done this or I should have done that, and what am I doing? But nowadays it's not like that. In fact, I feel more like I did the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I might have been somewhere and really hated myself. You know what I mean? Doing something that I didn't want to do, thinking I could have done this or should have done that. And so I get this other kind of satisfaction from it. And there's nothing like it. I don't have to tell you.
Yeah.
And
it's the best feeling in the world when painting.
There's nothing like that.
It's so fun. Every day, every night, I go to bed and I'm like, God, that was so amazing. It's like if I get a good painting day in, it's like, wow, that was so fun. This is like
I sleep better.
Yeah. Even with all the other bullshit that comes with everyday life, it's like when you get those good painting sittings in, it's just like makes it all tolerable and makes it all worth it. It's so it's satisfying is what it is. It satisfies you. That's how it to me, it feels like having a delicious meal when you're really hungry and you have this amazing meal. And at the end you're like, that was so good. That's how it is I feel like anyway, when I get a good session in a painting,
Exactly. And it's just, to me, I meet a lot of friends who talk about their job and they got this money and that money and they had to do this and then they can't wait to retire.
Yeah, right.
And it's like, retire.
Yeah, I can't even.
I don't know what that is. I have no plans for retirement. I'm going to paint, and when I die, I hope that it's like I'm about to put a brush stroke down and I fall right face first into it. And that's what my
dad painted. He was. They did okay in the 70s and 80s, but then kind of had a difficult, slow art career his whole later in life. But man, he was happy. They were always, living on Social Security, broke, but he was so happy because he got to paint every day, and he used to always tell me, it's like he didn't care at all about money. He used to just say, "I get to paint every day. It's the best." Even though he didn't even have any money, he was like, him and my mom loved each other. He got to paint. He was so happy, and then he painted up until he died. He just was like painting every day.
And a lot of artists are lucky to find somebody that understands.
Yeah. For sure.
About that, because I know for a fact, and I don't blame these people, but I don't know what they were expecting. I told them I was an artist.
Yeah.
And their dads, they'd take me to meet their dads, and they were like, "So Tim, what are you doing?" "I'm an artist." "Oh." Okay, all right then.
Yeah, it takes sometimes it takes another artist to understand, or or you just got to be a tolerant. You have to understand the artistic temperament. That's what it takes, and some people do and some people don't. Most people don't, but some people do.
But a lot of people, they look at my artwork and want to know what's wrong with me.
Yeah.
Are you okay, Tim?
I know.
Obviously something's going on.
That's the whole purpose for this podcast, is because that I'm like, I've heard that so much in my life, and it's like, I got to a point, I've been able to do this. I got it since I was a kid. And at this point, I've got a career that I'm living on because of all this weird shit that people were telling me, like, what's something wrong with you? I'm like, no, I made it into a career. And that's like how the whole concept with the podcast is like, we need to spread the good news about dark art. That's what I always say. It's like, we need to let people know that they're not weirdos in a bad way. You're not bad weirdos for wanting to paint like this or create artwork like this. It should be I feel part of the normal art, I don't know, landscape of, there's abstract, there's impressionist stuff, there's realist stuff, there's just all these different styles of art, and it's like dark art should be in there as just an accepted mode of expression within art. There's no reason it shouldn't be.
And it really has a history too. I mean,
I know.
I was always trying to think. Casper did all of these paintings of the moon. Casper something, or Casper, I can't think of his name. But anyways, German painter. But he painted these dark scenes. There was like like these scraggly woods with the moon in the background and this mist and this lone figure. And I was always fascinated by that kind of imagery. Because I just related to it.
There's just something about it that just feels so right. It feels so good to look at.
And then in college, I got into Carl Jung. The collective unconscious and the shadow and all of those things. And I mean, and it just opened doors for me. Yeah. And a lot of times I feel like I got more out of my bachelor's degree in the library at the college.
All right.
and I mean, I had access to everything. Yeah. And I spent days in there. And they would run me out sometimes, like, time to go. I was like, wait a minute. But that's how I was back then. And I got a lot of influence from that. And there was an artist that what's his name? Ernst Fuchs.
Oh, yeah.
And I got a book one time from the library there. And man, I was like, oh, and it just opened my whole spectrum up. I was thinking like this and all of that, just spread it all out.
That's how I think Giger was like that for me. But I think Fuchs was before him.
Yeah.
I think Fuchs was before Giger. Yeah, his stuff's amazing. His stuff's
Yeah,
crazy, man.
and Giger, I've seen some interviews with him, and I thought I've always liked his, but I never knew that he even existed until I saw the movie Alien when it
Yeah,
first
that's
came
how
out.
most people. Yeah,
I
most
was in
people go.
Atlanta, and I was like, after that, I bought the book. I was like, that literally genuinely scared me.
Yeah. That's a
So
classic. It
I
still
checked
holds
it out.
up.
Yeah, and it still holds up. And but he was never into the drugs and all of that stuff. Apparently, he was a real straight laced kind of guy.
I
So you
I heard
never know.
I heard he teased to Trip though.
Really?
Yeah.
I was under the impression that he didn't do anything. That was it.
I don't think he.
like that.
I think he was. I think he was. I think he was just like that for sure. I think people just, tripping never changed really my artwork.
Yeah.
It's more like it changed the way I thought about everything.
There you go.
And so that changes your artwork. But it wasn't like, because I remember even trying to paint under the influence, and it just did not work at all for me.
No.
I have to be totally straight.
Me too.
I was going to ask you though, do you have that Night Gallery book that came out, the art book?
No, I don't.
Oh my God. I think I
I'd
have
like
it
it.
here. Let me see.
I didn't know about it.
Yeah, it's so amazing. It's got like I think if you look it up, you should be able to get it on Amazon. It's a thick hardcover book, coffee table book, and it's got like all the paintings from the Night Gallery show and the story about the guy who painted them. And they're so cool. Wait a minute. Hold on one second.
There was another one I liked called Sin Eaters.
Called what?
The Sin Eaters.
The Sin
That was a Night Gallery episode called the Sin Eaters.
Which one was that? The Sin Eaters. I remember that. Oh,
it took place back in supposedly way back in the medieval times. And they had a guy in the village that whenever somebody would die,
that's right.
They would get all this food together and lay it out on his body. And he would come in and take all the sins of that person into him. And then the new Sin Eater would take care of him. That was pretty wild.
Shit. Yeah.
But that kind of stuff,
I remember.
But when I got a little older, that kind of stuff really had a major influence on me.
Yeah.
Definitely. There it is. Yes.
The Art of Darkness. It is so cool. This book is it's thick. It's got every one of the paintings in it from the show, from every show. So if you're a fan, sounds like you're a fan. So
I am.
You should definitely get that.
I'm going to have to check that out. Yeah.
Yeah. Introduction by Guillermo del Toro, too.
Okay.
Anyway, sorry, I just knocked over all kinds of shit pulling that book out. Had a big pile of books, they all just fell over. So you're not selling you don't have a web store, or do you?
I don't have a web store. I've got a new computer now. Before I had an iPad from 2013.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah, and I just now, I didn't have enough. I couldn't download anything onto it. I had no room. And but now I got one I paid a lot of money for, and,
cool.
And it's got a better camera, and
Good.
I intend to expand.
Yeah.
Now that I can, I was thinking about doing prints. I know that.
Definitely.
I know I talked to R.S. Conant.
He's
me and
great.
him, we talk. Robert, we talk all the time. We traded prints, and he prints them himself.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's got the whole machine there, and he does.
I do too.
I
do my own prints too.
Yeah, he does a pretty decent living with that, and other merchandise.
Mm-hmm.
He's got shirts and pants and robes and you name it. It's got all that stuff on it, And but I want to be able to do the print thing, I think, but I'm not sure that anybody wants some of my stuff on their book.
Well, you gotta. How would you know until you have to put it out there to see if and I would say the easiest thing to do would be to just like put put your originals, you have these, put them up and get like a big cartel shop or something that's free or cheap, and just put them up, put a few pieces up and just promote it once in a while, see how it goes, and just kind of go from there. That's kind of what I did. You just built
that's
it,
what I
built it
plan
from
to
there.
do.
Because if you don't have them, if you don't, you have to make it like to where it's easy for people to buy too. Because if it's like if they have to contact you and then wait to hear back and then ask for a price, it's like every time the communication goes one way, it's like less likely they're going to actually buy it. You know, it's like they ask questions, like the longer, then people are like, nah. But if it's, if there's a button right there, if there's a button right there and someone's going, man, that would be really cool to own. It's so much, you know, if you get it to where like click, they bought it on Apple Pay or something.
It's in the cart.
Yep.
But I've had people contact me on Instagram and they act like they're really, really interested, and then I don't ever hear from them again.
Oh yeah. I was telling
that happens a lot.
I was telling a friend of mine that the other day about, he was kind of bummed that someone wanted to buy one of his pieces, but then they backed out, and I'm like, that happens so often. That's why I never count it as a sale until the money has changed hands.
It's absolutely right.
Because so often people get cold feet for whatever reason. They seem like they're going to buy it, but they don't. But that's just the way. That's just part of the business. It's just the way it goes.
But,
now, you've shown at Copro before, haven't you?
Copro, yeah, at a show called it was about pickle punks or something.
Which show?
Pickle punks or something.
Oh,
like
okay.
that. And I was like, I don't know what that is, but I found out it's this sideshow thing in a
like
circus or whatever.
Yeah, like deformed.
Body. In the glass jars.
Yeah, fetuses and body parts and stuff in glass jars.
And I did one that was kind of based on that, because what I did was I had this painting. I come up with this idea, and it was actually from when they invited me to do that. Right, I was like, well, I got all these images of these mermaid babies. It's like the top half looks fairly normal, but the bottom half is like tapers into like a point or heel or something, and their legs or bottom half. So I put them in the sky. You know, I wanted to do them like a turn instead of like put them in a jar, you know. So I put them in the sky with this stuff, you know, and I think it was a little bit too positive, or not as dark maybe as it should have been, because it was, you know, it was colorful and it was daytime.
Right.
So, but as far as the galleries and stuff go, I also need to reach out more, I think, because I see these shows and it's already too late. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm like, oh my God, I wish I'd have known about that.
Yeah, you got to kind of bug the galleries, you know, get a list of galleries you think would be suitable for your work, and just email them pictures of what you're working on every couple months maybe, or every month, and just check in, and eventually they'll start to recognize your name, and it comes to mind when they have a show that it's just like, you know, it's like a networking thing. Also, going to shows, I don't know how many shows you have out there, but if you can find any places that are showing near you, it's really good to just find other artists who are making weird stuff. And
most of the artists here are local artists who do shrimp boats and seascapes and stuff like that and they're really, really good at it.
Yeah.
And I thought about it at one time, you know.
I kind of like doing that now. I've done so many monsters. I'm like, that sounds kind of fun. Painting a shrimp boat.
It doesn't have a monster.
I appreciate the older I've gotten, the more I have come to appreciate normal art. You know, my heart is still with the dark stuff. It always will be, but I really like appreciate just regular portraits and dog portraits. I love painting dogs and stuff.
Jen Art on Instagram is this artist, and her name is Jen Art. Whatever. She does dogs.
Oh yeah, she's amazing. She's amazing.
She's got this painterly
I know. I got to hit her up to come on the show. Actually, now that you mentioned it, her stuff is great. I love her animal paintings.
And I've always been like kind of like envious at the way she brushed. It's almost like it looks like she does it with ease. Like
I know.
And it's there.
Yeah.
And I was like,
it looks that way, but it's not.
Yeah, probably not. But that's good if you can make it look that way.
Yeah. Yeah. The great painters make it look like, oh, I could do that, great musicians or whatever.
Yeah. But, and here, as far as showing goes, I have my college professor from ECU. He still, he comes and visits me from the school, a couple times during the summer. And, he's hooked me up with some shows, and a couple of other artist friends who hooked me up with a gallery in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. It's called the Lurk Gallery, and they do my kind of artwork. And
nice.
I've sold quite a bit of stuff through them.
Oh, good.
And I started. I really had a hard time pricing my work. I didn't know what to price.
It's hard.
Looking at other things, and then I'd have people. I put a price. People, that's too low, Tim.
I know. And then I was
it's
so hard.
Yeah, but I need the money.
It's so hard at first when you're trying to figure out pricing, because it's like I started like super low.
Yeah.
And then once I caught something that was selling, I raised it pretty fast, and I kind of then I slowed down on raising them. Just once a year, just a little bit. And, but then you get to a point where it's like, if you get too high, you're pricing everybody out,
That's
it's
right.
kind of like a balancing act. It's really difficult.
Exactly. And, that's what I like about the Lurk is they really promoted the work, and and they brought down the newspaper people, and,
Lurk.
Yeah.
Lur.
DELURK, capital DE or capital DE, capital L.
Okay. I'm gonna look them up.
The Lurk Gallery.
Cool.
And they do a lot of stuff that's the surrealist dark artwork and
cool.
Lowbrow stuff and all kinds of stuff. And I had a great time up there. They were really nice to work with.
You got to keep hitting them up, man. Get them more shows with them.
But I think we're going to do a show sometime at the end of October. Me and this artist, Scott Eagle, who was my college professor. So a lot of times we'll do, a show together.
Cool.
2-man show. And a lot of times I don't have enough stuff to do I fill that whole entire gallery.
Right.
Because I've actually sold some stuff, which is, I'm not complaining about.
That's great. I'm not surprised.
And the Lurk has gotten some top prices for me that I priced it, and I just when I did, I was like, I really like this painting, and if it's this much, and if they want it for that much, that's the only way I'm letting it go. And they sold. And I was surprised because I went for a lot of years and never made a penny off any artwork. I gave it away.
Right.
And and I would do things for free, and people would come up to me and say, look, we need an artist for this project or that project. And I would do a lot of volunteer stuff too. So, but I could never get away from it. I've had people tell me, oh, I'm glad you finally found something like something. It's like I knew what I wanted to do when I was 2.
Yeah, right.
Kennedy was still the president.
Right. That's amazing.
But, I never, learning to me was always, I've always considered myself self-taught. Even though I have a master's degree, I've always felt as though I were a self-taught artist, because when I went to school, they never taught that kind of stuff.
All the stuff, most of the stuff you use, you taught yourself, I imagine.
Exactly. And so when I did get the opportunity to teach school, I took it back to that basic thing, and I had a specific book that I taught out of, and I really, I really serious about it. I mean, when I was teaching, it wasn't a joke to me. I was really serious about it.
Yeah.
And I remember times I had this one class. I taught a figure drawing class, and everybody in the class was avoiding the male genitalia from my model, right? So they would draw it, and just sort of that place would be blank, right? So one night we're doing the critique, and I was like, can anybody tell me what's missing from these from these drawings, right? And everybody was looking at each other, And I went up there and I pointed at it, and I said, "Look, you know what goes here?" I said, "Draw it." I said, "Because here's what I'm going to do." I said, "If you don't start like adding that to your drawings, I'm going to do an entire class where that's what we draw." And I was joking around,
That's great.
3 of them came in on their own. They weren't in contact with each other. 3 of them came in with pictures of that.
It's hilarious.
And one of them with a tray. It was on a tray. And I was like, oh my God. And it was really good. They were really good drawings.
Right.
Probably one of the best classes I taught. It was great.
That's so cool. Yeah, I grew up in the in the 70s. My dad was very influenced by like Frazetta and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, he was the man. And so there was like a lot of his paintings where they were like that style, sort of kind of realism, and lots of naked women and naked guys with like deer heads, really psychedelic, weird, but like lots of nudity. And it just didn't even occur to me that it was weird because they were everywhere in our house. It just didn't occur to me. And then my friends would come over and they'd all be like giggling at the ooh boobs, and it's like I was like, what? I just never even, it didn't seem weird at all because it was just always around, I know,
it's normal.
Yeah. It's like everybody's got them.
Yeah, I was definitely I went through my Frazetta, and that was during my famous monster period. Mm-hmm. And I really was into that kind of stuff. And Boris Vallejo.
Yeah.
And
he's amazing.
And Boris is a god.
Yeah.
I was like,
it's amazing.
You just do that.
I know. I want to try and get him on the show too, but I feel like I'd be too scared to interview him or something.
He would be intimidating to me too, because he's been somebody that was like a legend.
Yeah. I've had a couple people on here that I was really nervous to interview, but I don't know. I had his posters on my wall when I was a kid, and I should just get over myself and do it though.
Oh yeah.
Because a lot of these guys are not going to be around forever.
That's true, and that's a lot. That's the other thing that's been going on lately. It's like the people from my time, they're dying, and they're getting really old. And
it's
I
crazy.
am too.
Yeah.
And that's another thing about the art and getting older. I love doing what I do. I love art, but I also have other things in my life that to me are a priority, even over the artwork. Mm-hmm. Because I take care of my parents.
Oh, that's cool.
They're older. They're really old.
Yeah, I bet. That's amazing that they're
right, and they're not able to do the things they could do before. So I spend a lot of time doing that. And so the way I've approached art now it's a bit different. I used to be kind of desperate to get it done, and I wouldn't let anything stand in my way. I mean,
right.
And I sometimes think it's kind of a harmful thing in itself, but now it's like I feel a whole lot better about doing it because I know I got priorities straightened out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
family always comes first before the artwork gets bottom line.
Yeah.
Before anything.
But there was a time when I was really ambitious.
Yeah, right.
And I'm telling you, I think that it would have been better had I had the attitude I had now. But you live and learn.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
that's amazing. You're doing that. That's really cool. We took
And
care of.
plus, like your dad, I get to paint every day.
Right.
And people don't understand how wonderful that is.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
And,
amazing.
and I've always said, and I've had people tell me, well, Tim, why are you unhappy? And I was like, well, I don't get to paint like I want to, what would make you happy is I said, if I could paint every day,
Mm.
if I could just, people would go away and let me do my little thing there, I could be a happy somebody.
Yeah.
And, but now I got what I hoped for. I mean, it ain't what I was thinking.
Right. Right.
I don't have, a barn studio with
Right.
a few acres and
I'm in a bedroom. This is my
yeah,
studio's a bedroom in my house. It's like my kid's old bedroom. It's like
hey,
but it's fine. I'm painting. Doesn't
yes,
matter.
and I'll paint forever.
Yeah.
If you get me a corner somewhere,
Yep.
and I'll turn my back to
I used to paint in the dining room. I used to paint in the cellar. I used to paint in the garage. It was like it was just, as long as there was a space and I could put a light and an easel up, I'd be set.
That sounds like me.
And and then my kids grew up and moved out, and I was like, oh, there's a spare room. This is my new studio, and it's a tiny little room, but it does the job. It's jam packed, but. So yeah, it sounds like, do you have any plans moving forward? It sounds like you just want to keep painting and trying to expand on selling your stuff online, maybe.
That's right? My plan. And then I'd like to do the big cartel thing. In fact, I've already looked into big cartel.
Yeah.
My holdup was the computer, but now, like I said, I got an updated computer.
And big cartel is so easy. It's so easy. That's what I like about it. And it's like I've had it. I stuck with it because it's just too easy. Even though it doesn't have as many features as I'd like, it's just so easy to post stuff.
And the other thing too is I've had a lot of people as an artist. I've had a lot of people help me out. Mm-hmm. I mean that there's no way I could ever repay them or thank them enough, but have helped me out. Mm-hmm. That has allowed me to paint. And I'm, grateful for that. Not everybody has that,
Yeah.
So, and I've told students that, it's a hard road to hoe, mm-hmm. If that's what you're trying to do. And, I had one student who was, really, really good at math. His daddy was an engineer. But he was good at drawing. I mean, really, really good, especially the human figure. Mm-hmm. And he came into my class, and I talked to him, and I said, "Man, you're good." And I knew his dad. His dad was a friend that I went to high school with. We were all engineers. Mm-hmm. And I told him, I said, "Man, you're really good at this already." And I said, "Are you ready to have a different life than what you've been used to your whole life, if it doesn't work out the way you want it to, which is always a possibility."
Right.
And I told him that, and he's like, "Well, would you give me classes?" And I was like, "You go to engineering school and you do," because his daddy did not want him to go. And I said, "Well, you can always take the art classes, and I'm always available to help you out. And but if you go and do this engineering thing," I said, "at some point you're going to reach this point where you're going to be able to do that. You're going to have all the facilities and everything you need without the necessary struggle, because you're already really, really good. And I only see improvement from here on, So what he did was he went on to become an engineer, and he still paints. And he still does what he does, but he's just one of those rare people that have the math skills.
Yeah, that's crazy to me.
I couldn't do it, but I told him, and I don't know if I had the right to do that. You know what I mean? To say you shouldn't. Maybe you should do that instead.
Yeah. Well, I think the people that the only people that should go full at it as artists and go like all the way and go all in are the people they have to.
Yeah.
There's no other choice. They can't survive without doing it. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
Because it's such a hard life that you have to really sacrifice a lot to be an artist. So you better fucking really want it because it's going to be really hard. You know?
That's what I was telling him.
Yeah. So it's good advice. And it's like, if he maybe if he was one of those all-in people that had to do it, then maybe he would have just said, I have to do it anyway. You know?
Yeah.
So it's like, I think it's good advice you gave him. I mean, I had a whole career before I started painting in the film industry. So I was like, because that was my passion from like 12 years old until I felt like, you know, that was art. That was the art I was doing, was this special
you do
effects
like makeup, the mask, and prosthetics,
sculpting, prosthetics, all that stuff. I was a sculptor and a painter of, you know, creatures, suits and stuff. And I did that for like 20 years. I did it right out of high school. And after 20 years, it's like, okay, I this isn't satisfying me anymore. And it was at that point I was like, okay, I'm going to be a painter. And so, you know, but I felt like, as much as it was kind of crazy to do that, because I had this, you know, well-paid, well-established career, I couldn't, it was driving me crazy at work, because it's like I started painting while I was working. I would paint on my off hours, teaching myself, and then I started showing, but I was still working 40 hours a week, and it just got more and more unbearable as like paintings would start to sell, and I was seeing like, this is my real passion, is this fine art stuff, because I could do anything I want instead of what I'm being told to do for whatever project.
And that's important.
Yeah, it was everything to me. You know, it's just like I said, I gave up a good paying job for it. That's how important it was to me. And I mean, I'm glad I did it, but I also felt like if anything went wrong, I did have this other career I could go back to if I had to. And I could still go back to that if I had to. But the thing is, it's like a lot of people in that business are now, they're feeling it because all the AI stuff and the CGI stuff, it's like practical effects. Or
how do you keep up with it?
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, but I mean, the film industry is pretty in a tough spot right now. I know a lot of people are out of work, so I kind of feel like, well, maybe I made the right decision, you know.
Yeah,
I'm glad I did it, definitely.
Yeah, that was a good move.
It was crazy though.
Yeah, because you don't know at that time you don't know the outcome. So
I just bought a house.
Oh my God.
And I can't believe my wife agreed to it. It's so crazy. But I got to hand it to her. She believed in me. She didn't even hesitate. She was like,
that's what I was talking about.
That's what you want to do. If that's what you want to do, let's do it. And I was like, oh shit, now I got to do it.
You're lucky. See, that's hard to find. You know,
it is hard to find. I'm aware of that for sure.
Yeah, and
I'm grateful for that.
Yeah,
you know. Yeah. Wow. Well, yeah, it was great talking to you, man. I appreciate you coming on the show. Super fun. Did you feel comfortable after 5 minutes, like I said?
Less than 5 minutes.
I told you, right?
It was awesome talking to you, man. I really enjoyed it. I actually have enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah, super fun, man. I that's what I love about doing this podcast is it's so much fun for me it's the only time I ever really meet people anymore. It's like, and it's all like art people, and it's dark art people usually. So it's really enjoyable for me. And I, you know, I think your stuff is really cool, and
I appreciate that.
And I feel like I wanted to have you on because I feel like you're kind of flying under the radar a little bit. And I'm like, this guy shouldn't be flying under the radar. This stuff's cool, you know? So I thought I'd have you on and try and help expose more people to your work. So
really appreciate that.
Everybody,
you have no idea.
Everybody listening needs to go to your Instagram. So what's your Instagram account?
I'm a Squeaky Wren.
Yeah, Squeaky Wren. W-R-E-N, right?
Squeaky. Yeah.
And Squeaky, W-R-E-N.
Yeah, I got that name when I was setting it up. Somebody was like, well, you've got to have a password. You got to have a name. I had a painting called Squeak, and I had one named Ran, so I just like Squeaky Ran.
There, now you're Squeaky Ran.
I'm king of birds.
So yeah, everybody go check Tim's stuff out, and yeah, just the final thing we have to do. Don't hang up after I stop recording, because I always forget to say that. But you just have to say goodbye to the audience in whatever way you would like. That's what we do at the end of this dumb show.
Oh, thank you for watching, and I really appreciate it. I really do. And check out my artwork.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody, and watching, and I will see you next week.